I'm Brooke Marcy. I'm an adjunct here. I teach drawing and top painting, and I teach printmaking when it's offered. So first and foremost, what I can tell you is I'm a painter. And in graduate school, when you're a painter, you spend a lot of time alone. So I started going down to the printmaking room because everybody down there is having a lot of fun. Okay. So painters tend to work alone. Printmakers, they work in a group. Yeah, because they want to try stuff. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but they want to try stuff. And also, there's usually cake down there. So through my years at graduate school, I started spending more and more time in the print studio. So I literally split my time between my painting studio. I feel the need to see people. I go down into the print studio. And so I learned more and more and more and took more and more classes in printmaking. And I love it. And it's this wonderful balance as an artist I have between my paintings and my prints. My prints balance out kind of the intensity. I'm a very intense painter, but when it comes to printmaking, I feel so much freer. So I have even been known to do minimalistic prints, and so when people see my prints, they never know their mind. They're like, "There's no way that's yours," and I'm like, "Yeah, no, it is." And they're like, "No way." I'm like, "Yeah, mm-hmm." So the conclusion to that is printmakers are more fun. Okay, hands down.
They eat cake.
What?
They eat cake.
And they usually have cake. So, oh my gosh, how can you go wrong? You just can't. So I wanted to show you guys a couple of techniques. Oftentimes when you say printmaking, people instantly think that you need a press. And we do, we have a great little press down in one of the rooms. But you don't need a press. You know, that's just kind of the fancy stuff. You don't have to have a press. Okay, so you want to do mono prints, which is a print and it means one print. So each and every one is an original print. Okay, this is what you need. And this is what you get at Lowe's or Home Depot for about $2.50, $3. This is a plexiglass sheet. Okay, you can go a little bigger and get into the $5, $6 range if you want to. But easy. And people think that artists always go to the art store to get their supplies. Oftentimes artists go to Home Depot or Lowe's to get their supplies. That's a secret. So I'm going to start with mono prints. I'm using some really old speedball ink, printing ink. Usually when I'm doing mono prints, I just use acrylic paints. And I've been known to go to Walmart and get some of their acrylic paints to do mono prints. Okay, it's just that I happen to have this old ink that's here. So far all I've needed is my plexiglass, acrylic paints. You have any extra ink. A nice thing to have is a brayer. These aren't super expensive. You can get them at any art store. So this will come in handy. But for a mono print, primarily, this is the fancy burnisher. Okay, this is what most of us use, the wooden spoon. Okay, so you got your wooden spoon. If you're gonna get fancy, you can go here. You can use any kind of paper, and the neat thing is, I'm using scraps. I found some scrap paper that I wanted to use. Some of it is student grade printmaking paper, which is roughly $10 for a little packet of it. But I've been known to use regular old copy paper from my printer. Grab some of that. Okay, one thing you want to know about printmaking is you never cut your paper down. Okay, anybody ever torn paper? you know when you cut it, you get the really rough, kind of jagged edge. So all you need is a metal ruler. And I marked what size I want. I haven't tried this ruler, but I'm assuming it's gonna work. I'm just gonna, way easier than scissors, right? And it makes such a nicer edge than you could ever make with scissors. And what printmakers are doing, and most of these are matted, and I don't know the other room, but a lot of printmakers will float their prints in a frame rather than mat them, so you see the edges. So you really want to have a nice torn edge rather than getting your old scissors out.
There are lots of examples of that in the other exhibit.
Yeah. So, okay. So I tore my paper. This is where we get messy. I got my paper towel. And I'm just gonna do quick, and I like to work with leaves. Because my dog and I actually go out and walk in the parks. We particularly like Peak Park for leaf hunting. And we go and we find leaves. This time of year, ivy. So if y'all see me lurking around campus, like in the ivy, okay, don't think I'm creepy. Like it's that I'm actually getting some ivy. So this is just kind of a fun technique. I'll put them on here. You know what? I'll put him this way. And I'm using him primarily to keep things tidy. So I'm just going to take my paper and I'm just going to anchor it down. The reason why I'm anchoring it down is because I'm going to put on several layers of ink and I want it to register or be in generally the same area. I'm not super picky about that, but I would like it to be in the general area. So since I'm using these inks, I just cut myself a few of these. Just get the ink out, plain and simple. And actually, these are a big tool in printmaking. Believe it or not, the small cardboard rectangle comes in handy in lots of different ways in printmaking. Okay, now for some reason, I always like to do my leaves. This should be looser than this, but they've just been open a long time. So I'm just going to put a little of this on. That looks fine. Okay. Now I know, having worked with it, that this red will take over the world. And this red, trust me, a dab will do you with this stuff. This stuff is a better consistency. So like, phew, that's plenty.
Are the inks oil?
Oh, these are water-based inks.
Water-based.
Mm-hmm, sorry. These are water-based inks. I prefer to work with the water-based inks whenever possible. There are soy-based inks that you can use. Unfortunately, I have not had much luck at getting them to dry, and neither has anybody else. And you do eventually want your print to dry. So I wanted to make a nice kind of orange. And I like to just do these little prints. I like the rough edge. I think that looks kind of cool. So I actually just mixed my orange right here. Now, then I'm just gonna let that all squish. Now a lot of people, has anybody taken print before? Okay, when you get into the etching, like that over there, those over there are etchings. You're actually, what you're doing is you're using a steel plate or a copper plate. You're covering it in a resin, you etch through it, the resin, you make your lines on the resin, and then you dip it in acid. So where you've etched, the acid eats away the plate. It's a great technique, it's really fun, but it's an environmental disaster because you end up with all this acid, and what do you do with it? And also you have to have a hood, there's a lot of, because the acid will actually go into the air, you can breathe it in, you have to be super careful with it. So printmakers are looking for alternative methods to printmaking that are more environmentally friendly. Now, it's still out. Nobody has come up with like the perfect answer to being able to do etchings like those over there and not use the acids. So I just stay away from them. I did them in college, and I just would prefer, when making my prints, I just want to stick with more of an environmentally friendly approach. So I stick with like lino or there we go. Yeah, so oh wait, sorry, wait, I'm ahead of myself. Sorry, okay, wait. Okay, so when you're printmaking, you always do, I'm just gonna go right over here. You always do light over dark. Anybody want to take a guess why? Or dark over light. Golly dang. Anybody want to take a guess why you do dark over light? It's primarily because the light can't sit on top of the dark as well. So you'll lose your color. So what you're printing in layers, you always want to go. There we go. Okay, come back here. Let's put you there. Put you here. So see, now I just flop that over. Give her a little rub. That. Let's see how it looks. Let's left the leaves out. And I pick off my leaves. Here you. And I put it down one more time. Just lightly go over it. Let's see what we got. That's the thing about printmaking. You honestly never know what you're going to get. Ta-da!
Ooh!
So, isn't that a pretty little print? Yes. Isn't it? Yeah. So, now I got myself a pretty little print. So, and I like the little rough edges. Then you can get them. Yeah, nice. Okay. Try not to get your fingers on it like I just did. But you can always rip it to a different shape. That's okay. So that's why you tend to use little foot. And normally you take the time to wash your plate in between, but this is mono. We'll just give her a go. So I'm just going to move my inks around. Okay. Anybody want to move this around for me? It's a little messy. You might not want to.
You're wearing the apron.
I am wearing it. And you can tell I never get it on myself. Goodness. No, I never get that on myself. So oftentimes you'll see monoprints also where people will go in and they'll draw, make some dots. You can even put, my favorite is putting bubble wrap on. It makes it really cool. go in there with that and draw, and then I'll leave my stick out of it. Yeah, like that. Okay. Then you just put it down. You'll see a lot of artists working in this fashion. I'm looking around to see if anybody's doing this kind of stuff.
Ooh.
Yeah. So you can draw, and then I could take this and I could let this dry, and that could be my first base, and then I could go in with other colors and start to layer it up. But how easy is that, you guys? Right? What?
It's simple.
It's simple. So, and I think there are monotypes in there.
Mhm.
And what a lot of people do is they'll take the monotype. And I was really excited. Some of my students started to do this. They took monotypes and they started to, that dries, print lino cuts on top, which I think is really cool. So they started to, monoprints. There's two things, there are monoprints and monotypes, but I won't, it's too confusing to me. The difference between the two, it's ridiculous. Okay, so next I'm going to show you lino cut. And this is linoleum. Not expensive, especially if you buy it in this format, which is where it's not backed. It's a little pricier when you get a backed block. It's very similar to woodcut, and I believe they're both linos and woodcuts in there.
Mhm.
Okay. The only difference is I prefer linocut to woodcut. I find that woodcut, you're all of a sudden dealing with the grain of the wood, which if you have something really specific that you're in mind to do, can all of a sudden become a bit of a nightmare because you hit the grain of the wood and your tool goes. And it's just, honestly, easier to carve. Okay. So, this is a speed ball lino cutter, and it comes with tips to make different sized lines. These are about $11, $12. Okay, you get a pack of these for 12, maybe. A little more expensive, more like $4 each.
If you use Michael's coupons, that helps.
I love those Michael's coupons.
I do too.
Those are my favorite. Oh my gosh, because there's nothing I like better than a deal. Well, maybe cake, but okay. So what you do is you transfer whatever image it is that you want to carve. Now the big thing is to not cut towards yourself, but to dig in and carve it. Who wants to try it? Give it a go. Just put hand, give it get a feel for what it feels like to cut. Now I just ran into one of my students who was on his way to ceramics, and he was like, I just miss cutting.
Oops. So
Yep, push a little deeper.
A little deeper.
Yeah, a little harder. There you go. And believe it or not, that is easier than wood. It's not as easy as you think it is, but that's easier than wood. You do like a wood cut.
Well, hard to control though when
It's-
you're a novice.
They're hard to, yeah. I mean, that's why I like to have everybody try it out, because it moves differently than you think it would. But honestly, I had a student stop in
It's a
today,
little better.
and he was like, I miss carving. He's like, it's the most soothing thing in the world. And it's true. We all would just come. My class was about this time of day, and we'd all just sit there and carve. Be really zen.
Now, do you draw in there what you want it to be before you carve it, or?
Oftentimes what people do is they'll do a drawing in a sketchbook, and then we transfer it over onto here. So, what do you think of it?
It's fun.
Isn't it? It's really fun. It's really therapeutic too. And I had somebody make a really, really long one of these, and it was in a big circle. and we kept it and we put it on the wall. And I'd like to say it's still there in 202.
That is fun.
Isn't it fun?
I can see how it can be therapeutic.
It is so therapeutic. And then, you know, you're like, oh, okay, that's a good one.
It's kind of cool to like almost make like stamps with.
Absolutely. You can absolutely do that. And then, this is my favorite. Come on, here. These are a little tricky. There you go. No, you can always keep that one. So you can get a really nice thin. Yeah, try that.
You notice we're all copying your,
Good.
using your
Because
hands.
I like to say that whenever I teach this, I always go and stop off and get a box of Band-Aids.
Yeah.
Okay, and oftentimes it's for me. Because I get really overly excited and start to carve and hold the block like this, and you just go right into your hand. So I have to admit, I certainly haven't done it in a while, but every so often you get really into it and you start to like.
She's getting fancy.
She's got the curve! Awesome!
Show off. I want to follow you.
How do you beat the curve? I don't know.
Zigzag.
The zigzag!
Make a star.
Now I feel the pressure to do
She does.
something.
Well, you did the curve. Oh my God, I feel like we're missing
Your second curve.
Like the Olympics. And there she comes down.
All right.
Nicely
See
done.
what you can do.
Beautiful! Okay, keep carving. Okay. This is an old soul. I think I've used this as my test block for so many years. This is one of the nice things about linoleum. And there's stuff called speedy cut. Has anybody used that? It's almost like an eraser. You tend to use it in lower
Is it pink?
middle school.
Very rubbery.
Very rubbery, yeah. And that stuff is fun, really easy to carve, but it won't hold its edges past 10 prints, and kind of that's not the point of it.
Oh, okay.
Did you make it?
Very proportional, but it's a
Very
start.
impressive.
I can see myself wasting a lot of money on linoleum.
Yeah.
Well, wasting? Yeah, probably getting better at it as you go.
You get better and better and better, and it's therapeutic. Just think of how much therapy costs. You could just this instead. Okay, so this is my old soul.
Have you ever used the material that the tombstone places have? They've got, it's rolls of blue stuff. It's very thin, and there's a sticky backing on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gone over there to one of the monument places and asked for just a leftover roll.
I've never even seen it.
Yeah, I knew somebody who had taken a class at the Fine Arts Center, I think, years ago. And the instructor used
They
this.
use that.
And so I just cut a piece out of it and peel the back off and then stick it to a piece of cardboard
Mm-hmm.
and
And you got a
carve.
plate.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And the other thing you can do is actually put leaves or pine needles or things like that between the surface of that and the sticky backing. It's interesting.
So then you get a really cool
Yeah.
texture. No, I had never seen that, but I know where
I'll
I'm
drop a
going.
piece off for you.
Please, thank you, thank you. No, I have not tried that. Sounds like fun though. That's the thing about printmaking is like you try stuff. And that's the fun thing about printmakers is they're like, I wonder if this will work. And everybody like gives it a go, and it's just kind of really fun. So, I'll do them in red. So this is my Hershey's Kiss that has been reproduced numerous times. I don't even know how many times. And then I got going on it, and I don't know, we're all in there carving, listening to music, and I I overcarved the edges because I like to see the little marks in here, because to me, that's what says, hey, I'm a print. I haven't come out of a computer. You know, I'm handmade, and this is what I am. And I've almost eliminated them. They're still there, but they're not there quite as I wish they were. So the first thing you want to do here, get yourself some ink. Okay, I'm just going to use this one. And what I'm doing is I'm trying right now, see how the ink is kind of making big long lines. Not big long lines. Okay, I don't want that. I want to work it and stretch it out a little bit. I want it to, there it goes. I'm looking for a squishy noise. There it is. Starting to get it. Hear it? Yeah, that's it. That's what we want. We want that noise, that squishy noise. There it is. It's kind of like when you put ear medicine in your dog's ear and you go. Isn't it? It is that same noise.
No, all I hear is when you're walking on a floor where somebody just spilled Coke.
Oh, yes. I'm glad you just had Coke on the floor in your college. Mine was, the sticky was not Coke where I am.
I know what you're talking about.
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. So now I'm just going over. Yeah, see, I took off too much. I was just overzealous.
So you wanted some of the sort of gouge marks.
I like the gouge marks, and I just killed it. So I like to go over a couple times, go in different directions. I was just having way too much fun, carving away. And I mean, I've been carving on this block, and I know a lot of printmakers who will work on blocks for, maybe I'll get a little on it, a little in there, I don't know, for 10 years. Easy. They just keep bringing them out and working on them, which is a good thing, but not always. Okay, so I got a bunch of paper that I just wanted to use because I found it. Want to use it. Now you can, of course, put little dots so that you're even. I did not do that, mainly because I'm using the scrap paper that I'm using isn't square anyway, and I'm not so concerned. I think my first printmaking teacher just heard that and just was she didn't just say that. No, if you take my class, you're going to register. Trust me, but I'm not as. So I'm just burnishing away here. Okay, now I'm gonna go for the big guns. Oh yeah. I just want to go in there and go over.
I suppose you have to use a bone folder for that too.
Sure. Yeah, and honestly, it's with printmaking, it's hello, anything that works.
I got one of those at home.
Yeah, anything.
Bone folder?
It's to fold paper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I book buying for a hobby, so you have to get a clean.
Like really sharp creases?
Yeah, anything that works.
Huh.
Let's see how we did.
I learned something new.
Oh, see, I do
That's the whole
have.
idea.
Yeah.
I do have a little bit of the edges there. So there's my Hershey Kiss.
Oh, it's so cute.
Isn't it? Yeah. So I originally made it so that I could make it into Valentine's Day cards, but I killed it around the edges. I just should never have. I overcarved it, is what I did. But I like to see that this is a print.
I was going to say that over doesn't bother me.
Doesn't bother you?
It just adds to the homemade.
Because I like homemade. We're in this world now where so much is done on computer and so much is done, using other means other than our hands. And so I'm always trying to leave a little bit of the fact that this is a handmade object. It's not. Okay, anybody wanna try printing? I say that with my red hands. But you're welcome to, and you can,
How long does it take this water-based ink to dry?
oh, it'll be dry in like 10 minutes.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the neat thing, is it'll be dry in like 10 minutes. But that's also, you can get extender for it. If it dries too fast, there's retarder that you can buy.
I think your first assignment should be a hornet.
A hornet?
Yes!
It would be a stick hornet. Which probably would not go down well.
Doesn't somebody want to give this? You could give it to Daura. Doesn't somebody want to give this a try? Anybody try it? You want to try it? You want to try it? Try it? No. It's just hey!
Now you mentioned that you usually use acrylics for monoprints. Can you also use acrylics for linocut?
That's when you want to switch over to the inks.
Okay.
Yeah, they just don't work. So that's when you want to go and get yourself some. But again, the inks aren't super duper expensive. They're just, especially if you get these speedball inks, it's not like overly expensive.
They have those at Michael's, don't they? In the little tubes?
Yeah, you get the little tubes and you can get, and they mix beautifully, but watch the red, it will take over. So you just really have to get red, yellow, blue. I get some white, I get some.
Nice.
Yay! There you go, good job!
So you say that if you're going to use multiple colors, you'd want to use inks and not acrylics. Is that my understanding?
Just more if you wanted when on the lino, I would use acrylics. I would use the ink. Yeah, but the monotypes absolutely use acrylics.
Which is just putting it on the plate.
Yeah, it's pretty. Then absolutely you can use acrylics. It just when you switch to this, you want to. I'd advise using the ink. They're just thicker, they just have a different viscosity, and they have a different saturation or, the color.
The speedball inks are thicker?
Yeah, than like
regular.
than the acrylics. I mean, you can get the heavy body acrylics, but even those, you kind of want to. It's sort of just a very different consistency. But
Cool.
any questions? Look at you guys are ready to go.
This is so satisfying.
Isn't it? I tell you, it's absolutely therapeutic. It's way fun. It's way messy. So, and I have a couple different papers here, like this. Yeah, this is a 400 level paper. It's just what I had scraps of. 400 level means that it's a professional artist paper. This is student grade paper.
This feels a little bit thicker even than cardstock.
Yeah, it's the good stuff.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's really thin.
It's like
So-
soft almost.
Isn't it? And I mean, you guys, this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to papers.
Yeah, this is about this paper that when I make books, that's about what I do.
Like this, that way.
Yeah.
This is, you're going from like a 60-pound weight to probably like 160, 190 pound weight. And then you can get up to, you can get paper that is so fancy, it has watermarks. And you can get a nice sheet of like Urch's paper, but it'll set you back $8 a sheet.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You better know what you're doing.
Yeah, but that's when you want to know what you're doing.